just in the office. I'm Melbourne-based, of course, and yeah, just finally getting things rocking and rolling. But Vicky, you're finding the market sort of opening up a little bit now with in light of the vaccinations and so forth.
It's slow. It's happening slowly. Depends on where you are. The vaccinations have certainly helped. The supply chain isn't helping. So yes, I was talking to someone only yesterday, and they said between the two of us, we came to the conclusion it's the first time we can remember in history where the government is throwing money at an industry that can't find materials, can't find labour, and can't find land to do what the government's giving the money for. So as long as the stimulus has some length of time to it, the industry will capitalise on it. If it's short term, then they can put the money back in their pocket because no one can spend it. Yeah,
that's a very common thing that I'm hearing, Tim. It's a bizarre advance. Anyway, let's just hope it just holds together and we can hit the ground running. I think from what I gather, everyone's going to hit the ground running hard in the new year. There's not going to be that little hangover period and then Australia Day and that sort of thing. So just get BODs here, get them available, get them working, and we can sort of fulfil a lot of these designs that are happening right now, because that hasn't slowed down at all. The front end is just going gangbusters. So that's kind of what I'm showing you, really, that more the front end, and how can you be more involved in that front end and put some influence in there and help them make decisions so they can just keep doing what they're doing, and then we'll worry about the execution later on down the track. But yeah, it's all very well and good. If you like, I'll just do a share screen.
Yep. Yeah, please do. Share a screen, give us some intel. I haven't had the time to Google the business to see what it looks like, so treat me as if I know nothing. That shouldn't be hard. Just ask Vicky.
Okay. Now, can you see at the moment, it's the NBS homepage, so it's got connected construction.
Yep.
So good thumbs up there. I'd like to start here because you're in the same boat. NBS is not a company or an organisation that's very familiar here in Australia, but in the UK, it's a household name brand in the construction industry. It's the only way you get specified over there, to be frank, for significant type projects. They invented Uniclass classification, which is mandated over there by the government. In Australia, certain states are adopting Uniclass, not mandated by any stretch, but what I'm going to show you is two sides of it, and that's what this graphic sort of represents here that you see here. On the right-hand side is a product listing that you're pretty much going to be familiar with if you've done anything online, whether it's construction related or purchasing, whatever. There's just a list of products that you can do some searching, some comparisons, and so on and so forth. And on the left-hand side is a platform called Chorus, which is our specification writing tool. And that's kind of where I'll be spending pretty much the bulk of this morning, just to get your heads around this left-hand side here. But first, if I'll jump into what we call Source. This is available, it's public, anyone can visit Source. And this is the Aussie Source platform that you're looking at here. And Source is a way that I can search for products. Now, just for the sake of, for relevance to you guys, I did a bit of quickly jumped on your website, saw I guess the Posse brace strut and some of those products. And I was thinking, what would fit good? What would be a better fit for a specifier looking for maybe wall framing or anything along those lines? So I'll just do a quick search for just bracket, which is a pretty general sort of search. Again, this is live product info that we've got here as it kicks in. There's nothing really, I couldn't see that really is a direct compare between some of the offerings. Now, mind you, I didn't look at every specific thing that you guys do, but with regards to brackets, in here you'll see a couple of manufacturers, Rondo, Metrol. There's more internal type brackets in here, but I thought I'd just show you this just to get a sense, imagining that you are on board with us and your product's in there, and I've just done that search and I'm going to see maybe the wall systems that you've got there with the Posse brace, for example, which probably be a really good fit for what I'm about to show you in the specification. So within here, I can do some typical sort of things that you'll probably be familiar with. I can do some filtering on the left-hand side, which is over here, by manufacturer, size, shape, material, finish. If there's quality certifications, recyclability, all those sort of things, absolutely would list them here, because that could be the means of you being specified, especially from an architect's point of view. I guess if it's galvanized metal, it's galvanized metal, but whatever it might be, listed in here, so it makes my decision a lot easier. It gives me the ability to do some comparisons. I'll just pick just these two here. It's from Rondo. Again, these are not a direct comparison to what you guys would have, but I'll just click there. Now I'm comparing these two products that I've selected. I can do a side by side. When anyone or manufacturers come on board with NBS, part of what we do, we classify all products in a very common way. So I can do my comparison between different manufacturers. And as I'm scrolling down, I'll just pick these two here. There's not too much difference here. I think maybe the only thing is the overall length. So for example, the Duo 2, in this case, I can go longer than, the Duo 1, I can go longer than the Duo 2 in this case here. Apart from that, everything else is pretty much like for like, as it seems in there. So just based on that, I'll click on Duo 1. And I can have some more deep dive into this particular product. Will it suit this particular need? Based on the types, it's not really product, it's more system based that we're talking about here. So this would be a product that would be form part of a system, and that's what I'll show you in the Chorus demo. But as I'm scrolling down, it's not a very, I guess, if there's any case studies involving this particular product, a lot of the manufacturers like to include that in there. I can see them. As I scroll down, there's more, okay, these are some similar sort of products from our range, might be a better suit and those sort of things. So I can actually see a little bit more in there. But this is pretty common. There's nothing really, I guess, different here. Tim and Vicky, is that sort of pretty clear?
Yep. Yeah, it's fairly common format I've seen before. Yep.
Yeah, it's sort of, I guess it's a common format, and you're right in saying that. It's sort of like, typically, from other sort of marketing offerings, what would happen right here is, okay, yep, that's what I want. How do I find out more about it? I can do a copy paste from here, or you might have a download or something that I can maybe swipe and put it into my spec. Or maybe, hey, it's too hard. Can you guys write it for me? And that's typically the way it is happening. There's someone in the lobby. I'll just see.
Yeah, that's Tony.
Tony. Okay, cool.
Tony did manage to join in. That's great.
Yep. G'day, Tony.
Yeah, hi. How are you?
Good. Welcome. We've only just started.
Oh, good.
Sorry, I'll just do a little bit of a back step, just a really brief one, just to get you in the loop. And then we can sort of kick off. We haven't got into the meaty stuff yet, so you're all good. Okay, so just a quick question. Are you familiar with NBS or the specification platform tool? Which no? Okay, good. Okay, so in a nutshell, NBS is made up of a category sort of listing that you're seeing here. I'll just do a quick, just first of all, you can see my screen, okay?
Yes, sir.
Got a couple of products there. You're probably familiar with when you're doing the search for products, it could be whether it's construction related or I don't know, you need new shoes or insurance or whatever it is. You've got an ability to have there's a website there and you can do a search. I've just done a basic search for bracket here. Mm-hmm. And within here, I can do a compare, which I've done between these two bracket items here. I was just showing the guys and I can do a comparison, compare that. And what we do with NBS is we actually categorize manufactured products, regardless of the manufacturer. So it's a consistent view. I'm a specifier. I work for an architect and we're specifying for a particular project. And these are sort of some of the things that I'm looking for right now. So I'm sort of taking that persona, if you like. Mm-hmm. So got to make my life easier. So yeah, let's put them side by side. As I was telling the guys, they're two products from the same manufacturer. So as you would see, they're pretty common. There's some differences here. The lengths, that might be the one I need for my particular project. Just clicked in there and I can drill down. What I was alluding to with the guys is at this point right now, typically what I would have to do then is, okay, I need this information now in my spec. How do I do that? I can do maybe a copy paste from here. Ask you guys to write something that I can actually input into my Word document. And that's typically, in Australia, especially in New Zealand, is a typical process for us, which is a bit, it's just what we're used to, I guess. Mm-hmm. What I want to show you is MBS Chorus. I'll just clear all those there. Now, I was telling the guys, MBS, as you alluded, not familiar with the name, the brand. In the UK, MBS has been around for about 50 years. So National Building Specification is the acronym. That's what it stands for. Over there, they wrote Uniclass classification system for the UK Gov, which is utilised in Australia. Not sure in NZ. But typically for the larger type projects, they suit very well. But within this platform that you're looking at here, it's called Chorus. We have that and other specification classification formats that are suitable for Aussie projects, for smaller projects, medium, and unit class for large infrastructure type projects. In here, I've actually this is my demo project that I'm running for the sake of this demonstration. And in here, you can see on the left-hand side, I've got quite a number of things I'm specifying for. In my world, I might be specifying for a timber wall framing systems right now. As you can see here in this example, I've just quickly whipped this up just prior to this demo here. But I'm doing anything and everything. So I've got to be a mini expert in here. I've got sink taps, I've got timber boards, wall lining, cladding, flooring, and all those sort of things. So I'm specifying for all those things. So as much help that I can get in here, the better. And as I mentioned, traditionally, I'd be relying on my Word document templates that I've reused over and over and again, and potentially the data in it might be outdated and those sort of things. This is an online cloud platform used in Australia by, I think the last count's around over 250 practices are using these platforms now. Within each practice, you might have 2 or 3 specifically working on the specification side of it for them. Now in here, I've got my template, if you like. It is kind of related to their world. So they did design this. We just put a database behind it. And as I'm clicking through each of these sections, I've already sort of started some just to get a bit of a sense. So for my stud work, for example, I've got some options in here available to me. What kind of studs are available? I'm just going to do hardwood, maybe hardwood partition studs in there. So I can actually add these to my specifications without actually writing it in, or potentially I can just write it in manually if I'm so way inclined. As I'm scrolling down in here, when I look at the fasteners here, there's a couple of categories. I actually, when I look at your site, we've got the steel nailing plates and the galvanized steel brackets. So this is going to form part of my system of my wall framing. So as I click on here, it's just taking me directly to that area where that particular product is. Now, if you can see here, I can actually, if I want, I can start typing it in manually again. Oops, I'll just cancel that for now. I won't save it just yet. But instead, if I click on manufacturer, I think I've got to save it. Okay, let's get back there. So we'll go on manufacturer. Can you see on the, oops, still those steel brackets, wrong one, yes, let me try that again. Stainless steel nailing plates, stainless steel brackets type A. No products available. No, that's should be a semi-curveball. I should be able to see the products in there. Let me try that again. Lucky we're recording this, hey?
No pressure. Never a pressure on demo being recorded.
I know. Work well in rehearsals. Yeah, no, there we go. It's behaving on me. Jeez, maybe I got the wrong one. As you can see, I'm in the products that make up part of this system, if you like. The system's made up of different products. If you have systems all-encompassing, you've just made my life easier. But what I'll do here is show you part of this system. Again, listen, imagine it's not exactly right because it's not actually used for this particular format here. But you can see those products that I shortlisted before. Mm-hmm. You can see them there. We have the Duo 1. I'm actually just going to add that, the Duo 1, to this section in here. So effectively, what I've done, I could, if I wanted to, not even bother with what I showed you before. If I write in my spec, I'd just say, okay, I need these steel brackets for this particular system. What is available on NBS right now? And that's my choice. I can actually click in and do that same thing that I showed you before. Just go into what kind of application is it? All those elements in there. Whatever data that you have for your product for the system, we would bring that in here. So I don't have to go and copy paste and all that sort of business. If it's not quite right, if there's some standards in there that I still need that you don't have, I can actually write it in. Now it's got to have these standards in here. My little guides can help me if it's available for standards for this particular product, or I'll have to look it up and see. But generally, we look after the standards and keep them all up to date. So I'm happy with that. So I'll just hit save, and then I can move on to the next product for the system, or if I'm complete, I'll just move on to another part of the project. But this is probably out of everything, if you can sort of get the gist of what I've just done there and the time that I've saved and actually the ease of selecting a product for a system, or you may have a product itself or a complete system where I could have done that right from the very get-go. If there's a manufacturer with a complete system in there, when I clicked in there's nothing in products here because there's no complete system. But if you guys have something like that, and I can fill up a few of those little areas in there, that'll make my life easy. And that's really the strength of the MBS Chorus. Just on that, as far as the specification side of things, the feedback is just, they just love it. Even if there was no products in there, the fact that just having those guides in there that we maintain is just a game changer for them. The feedback is they can't go back to providing, utilizing Word document templates. They're just hanging out for new projects so they can really get this as a starting point for their writing their specs. From their point of view, they can collaborate with their team. They can collaborate with you guys because the systems are a bit tricky and they think, is this the right one? Is it a Posi brace? Is it a Posi strata? I don't know what it is. Can you guys help me? They can invite you in to actually do this. So you can sort of virtually, if you like, handhold them right through the process. And that, of course, and make sure it's specifying your products that makes it easier. It's locked in, and as it progresses along, obviously the job gets awarded and those sort of things. Everyone will see your products in there. It's probably good too because you get alerted every time when I click that save button. You get alerted that okay, Architect Acme has specified us for project 101 Collins or whatever it might be. Let's provide a bit of love to them and make sure that they're not forgotten in that process, because this is in the early stages. So you can be involved in these early stages and make sure that's the right decision, but then keep in sort of the tabs as it progresses along the chain and gets awarded for those sort of things. But before I move on, is there any sort of questions just relating to the gist of this? There's a lot to Chorus, and I'm not an expert, but I just thought I'd just show you just the gist of how the main part of MBS works here.
So Gus, that database you're looking at trying to compile, you can go as deep as the specifier is asking. In other words, it's probably down to engineering. It could be aesthetics. It could be a whole raft of issues. You're not restricting this to just a product click and collect a brand. You're able to scroll down and dig deep in terms of loads, etc.
That's a good question. I'm not the one to specifically answer, but the loads, not in this realm. It's related in a way, but load handling, we've got a handle like door handles, door hardware, and they've got load ratings in those as well, and that's specified in here. If you have that, if that's been certified for certain loads, you didn't see it in these products because they weren't really akin to what you guys do. If there's any load, I guess parameters that have been proven that it handles these loads, you'd have that in your spec. And when I'm doing my side-by-side compare, if you've got that rating and brand X doesn't, I'll be most probably choosing you because it's sort of ticking that box and it's that compliance thing that I'm sort of mindful of. If that is,
I'm just thinking a lot. What we've done over here in New Zealand, Gus, over the years, is provide a solution for building code requirements that normally requires a kilonewton. The fact that it's yellow, black, pink, or satin is irrelevant. Somebody just wants a kilonewton capacity for fixing A to B, and so it's very specified by the engineers rather than the architectural side of it. So it's not about something pretty, it's more about a structural solution.
Like a lintel, for example, that has to hold up
like a tie down, a fixing, a hold down, that type of thing, a seismic resistance, etc.
It's a good question. I guess think of it in this way. Yes, I might be a specifier for an architect. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a structural engineer. But I do need a lintel of some description to hold weight. I know that it's in my drawing, but I'll need someone to actually verify what that is. At this point in time, if I'm just choosing, I'll call it products for want of a better word, and that's as this starting point, then whether it's yourself or you can recommend an engineer that kind of likes your products, if you can influence that, it just helps you in these early stages as far as, all right, this is kind of the product that we're talking about, but then we need to go to the next step. It's similar to others we get on board, like for lighting, it's a similar sort of thing. We need an engineer to sort of assist in making the final selection. But right here, right now, I just want them to choose our product, and then we'll help them down the track, because this is, as I said, the early stage here. And the next bit of this I'll show you is the reporting and the analytics, and you'll see, okay, we've been specified because it just makes life easier for this architect to specify us, because there we are right there. And if you pick the right classification there, you'll be just automatically put into the right slot. But from this point on, you will need what you're saying there as far as that consultant view, and a good opportunity to make that call, make that intro, and say, hey, you know, we've got ABC structural engineers. They are really good in this, and they know our products really well. They'll make your life easier. It's all about making your life easier. So that's, in my mind, how you would look at something like this, working with you guys. Yeah, because that absolutely, an architect's not going to sign off on structural.
Gus, is this specifically going to architects, or is it also going to engineers? Because the same rule applies in Australia as well. Engineers design all the brackets, engineers design all the lintels. It's all engineer comped. So is this
question? It's about an 85-15 split. It's predominantly architectural, but the engineer side, you might have saw some logos there, ACOM and so forth. But yeah, it's kind of in the way in Australia. We are sort of a little bit behind the UK. I look at the UK for what we're going to be doing in Australia with a lot of things, especially with BIM. The thing that I won't be able to show you in this session here is, imagine, and I know you guys have got the MiTek plugin, which is a 3D Revit type plugin. I don't know how popular that is or how much it's used, and that's, I imagine, for your structural engineers. Imagine that what you're seeing here is not this list view, but it's actually a 3D model here. And in here, they've got some brackets or struts or whatever it might be. And I click it on the model here, and it brings up my product list on the right-hand side. So I'm in my Revit model, for example, and I can do what I've just shown you within the model. So I actually attach it to the model. And then from there, the specification is linked to the model from then on in. So as it progresses along, when down the track, when they have the federated model of all the drawings coming together, that's where you'll see that your product will still be in there, your brand will be in there, your contact information will still be there within the model. So that's what's happening in the UK. Probably more, the trend is more that than what I'm showing you here. And so therefore, when Australia sort of gets on board and starts to utilize it more, I think at the moment it's probably about half a dozen practitioners that use that functionality, but it is there. So that's kind of another side of it as well, which will link to more the engineering side of things.
And Gus, what's the take-up rate of companies using NBS at the moment?
Yeah, from a specified point of view?
No, from a supplier like us, manufacturer supplier.
Yeah, the take-up's actually much stronger with the specifiers. When they see this, they go, damn, we want this, and they subscribe to this. From manufacturers, I think last count is about 90 some manufacturers on board across most disciplines now. I think we're pretty much covered in most areas.
So that'll be anything like lighting, plumbing, roofing, cement, plaster, paint, etc., etc.
Okay. Exactly right. Yep. On source, the first thing I showed you that I'll send after this, I'll send you all the links, so you'll get a bit of an overview anyway. But I'll send a source link if you want to have a bit of a squeeze. That's what's currently on there. In the UK, by comparison, they've had a number of years head start. I think there's about 2,000 manufacturers, and including things like chairs. And I think, well, I don't know how you specified for a chair or a stool, but maybe if it's a funky office and they really want to be particular, and that's really what the owner says, I want these chairs from everything. So I think in Australia we're focusing more on things that are more fixed to buildings right now. Eventually it'll I guess it'll go there. My focus is to get manufacturers on board, and I get challenged all the time by the specifiers, architects, the consultants say, hey, it'd be great if we could just click a button and have a product in there. I could do my comparison with a couple of different manufacturers and choose the right one, because from their point of view, they want to make sure that what they select is compliant. And because they, especially in New South Wales now, which I think will start a lot of the way things happen around Australia, maybe in New Zealand as well. If I'm a designer, I can't choose inferior products, and down the track, if I get substituted for an inferior product, who chose that? Who made that decision? And when it's online like this, it's all traceable. You'll see consultant XYZ decided, oh no, we'll go with a cheaper, nasty, substitute, and you'll see that there's nowhere to hide anymore. So, which is good if you're selling something that's of quality, and it shows when you do the side-by-side compare. You mentioned before the performance of things. If it's had that those tests done, I would say highly recommend have everything there that makes my decision easier to choose you guys. So it's just really getting on board early, and then being there to influence and handhold as it progresses through, to have your product sort of first and foremost. I mean, your name's going to be there, but just to reduce the being substituted. When Mr. Builder comes on board, I guess that's probably where the danger is for you guys. Just using who he knows,
what tends to happen is product substitution is a bit of a foul word in most people's minds now, because they've been let down in the past by something that might have been cheap, imported, looks like it, smells like it, tastes like it, but it isn't. And when you're doing a structural element like we are, holding someone's house or building together, you can mix and mingle and substitute a colour grey with 50 shades of grey apparently. So you can mix and mingle colours, but when it comes to structural fixing, if it doesn't give you that kilonewton tie down and code compliance and give you that sign off, then any substitutions is fraught with danger. I mean, look, I'm not too sure of the progress of any product specification in Australia, because I've been stuck over this side of the Tasman for the last 18 months, but certainly here in New Zealand, starting 25, 30 years ago, Gus, we spent man hours, if not man months and years, pounding the pavement, drilling into architects and, more importantly, engineers, the selection of the right product to give you that compliance and that assurance that it's going to do the job. To the point where once it's specified on a plan, no one dare want to try and change that, because they're taking a design decision upon themselves based on price, availability, who's the best man in town type thing. Now in Australia, it's probably a little bit more relaxed. In fact, a lot more relaxed. Vicky might have a little bit more closer contact with it, but certainly my experience, and when we're looking at doing market share and trying to pick up market in Australia, we are having to start what we established back in New Zealand like 20 years ago. Australia might be ahead in a lot of things, but they're certainly not ahead when it comes to that type of, unique specification of our type of product. So any opportunity like this, Gus, I think we obviously need to welcome and have a look at that and create some discussions internally about where we see the focus might be. How do you sit with that, Vicky, in terms of coming from your background?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a great advertising tool for us as MiTek, and we have got the products. So we've got all the engineered products that so that's a plus.
Absolutely.
But moving from there, we need to really have a big discussion, because implementing this someone would have to be Gestapo of this to watch what products are available, what products are not, because there's no point having products that are 2 years old or obsolete or whatever. So there's another step to this that we need to look at. The other thing is knowing how the industry, whether it's commercial or residential, works here. Not sure if they really would tap into that sort of document. Architects might be, because as they're designing, and we all know when architects design, they actually look at the design, they're really not phased on how it's going to work. That they leave that to someone else, right? So this is being proactive. This is a good tool, being proactive. Good architects would put this in place, and good engineers would look at this as well, because it would eliminate the repetitive work down the track. So I see it as a good thing. I really agree with you, Tony, that it is, we can see how it could work. I'm not sure. I'd like to hear Jimmy Close from UK, what he would say to this as well. What we'll do, we'll set up a meeting with Tim, a few of us, and have a look at this recording and have a look at the steps and see how that could fit into our business. Because it's not something I understand what you're saying, you just upload the products. Great. Someone has a question, someone rings who they're going to ring. So it's not just implementing and just uploading our products on there. It's actually looking at how this is going to work.
I'm wondering too, Vicky, whether something like this may not be across the board for widgets and products and brackets, but it might be PosiStruct, for example, or that type of thing. So it's more of a system solution specification rather than a XY widget with holes in.
Yep. And if it's got the graphics, I mean, that is amazing too. Like, you know.
Well, I'm thinking, and it's not my field of expertise, but I'm thinking like Sapphire Viewer or something like that, or a part of it, which could be truncated and make it available for architects whilst they can't do the designing and get in the nuts and bolts of it. Maybe they can think about this 3D cutaway image of houses or buildings, etc., so they can think about the HVAC and the air conditioning. There might be another angle that not even you, Gus, have thought about, but we might, because it involves other people within our business. We've
got RightSoft as well, that hopefully will come,
that's right. You know. Correct.
So we've got multiple softwares that we could actually, it would benefit all this working together, because it would give them a visual, a 3D image of how all the air conditioning units are working in a house, comparing it, putting it all together with Sapphire and all the truss. So it is on the right path, you know, absolutely. And there's more that we could actually evolve from this. I totally agree. I mean,
and I think you're right, Vicky. Like people like Jimmy Close and Barbara and those sort of, you know, given the strategies that we've got in front of us to lay out, we've got to start thinking just outside that widget space and think of bigger the solutions and opportunities. And this could well be an avenue to explore.
I mean, we're global, like we got South Australia, you know, so it's Europe and US obviously. So, and I don't think MiTek would just implement something to work for Australia or New Zealand. No. So we would have to look at it as a global document that could benefit all of it, and which would benefit you as well, obviously, Gus. You know, the big.
So Gus, so are you aware? I mean, the only system like this that sort of comes to mind that I can think of here in New Zealand would be something like EBOS, which is probably not quite the same. But are you aware of anything similar that is operating over here?
Not that's operating here. No, you mentioned obviously you're in the UK, and you mentioned that if they're from the UK, they'll be familiar with NBS. NBS is in obviously Australia, looking to branch into New Zealand, but that's not on the cards just yet, and in Canada. So and then branching to the US or those states towards the early part of next year. So that's kind of the roadmap for MBS. Just on what you're saying there, with as far as almost more having a digital sort of product or assistance in there. If like what I could do is set up another time with Joe, who's our Revit expert, and if you've got a sample, he can input in there and we show how that might fit in. But I think that's a really brilliant idea. That's really thinking outside the square, because when I was sort of prepping for this, I thought the PosiStruct, that probably would make sense. Getting that in there and you being sort of known, that's, you know, that would be one that I'd be comfortable putting my name to as a designer, but let an engineer do all the other, you know, other bits and pieces that they do. That's one aspect, but I think what you're talking about there is brilliant. So if we can have an internal discussion, and if you like, I'll see if I can organise another powwow, and we'll make it UK time friendly, because we do that all the time, because unfortunately the daylight savings is sort of stretched it out both sides a little bit, but, and you in New Zealand as well. But we'll work at a time, and we'll just have a bit of a show of how that could work. And I won't show you the what you just saw there, to be more in the model, how that works within the model, which would probably be a better idea with Joe, who's a bit of a Revit expert and can show you how.
Well, absolutely. What we'll do, we'll have an internal meeting.
Yep.
Then I'll let you know all the names that should attend as well, and then have another. I mean, it's a brilliant idea if it's the only document used. I mean, you know, you've got companies like DKO, like that are global companies, you know, that would probably look at this, because I know I've worked with them and they struggle with this.
Oh, you do? DKO, yeah, they're one of.
I mean, DKO, like, So there is definitely opportunities to work with companies, you know, together. We just got to see how it's going to work.
Yeah, I'm wondering too, Vicky, whether there's a link that we can bring into some of the larger home building companies in Australia as well. Rather than the architects get back to us, they go to the Metricons and the Simmons Homes and that type of thing, knowing that we're going to pick up on the sale, hopefully, if they use one of our fabricators or supplier of building hardware products. We've done quite a bit of work here, using MailChimp, etc., and direct mailing to architects and engineers. And we're quite involved with an association over here, ADNZ, and our marketing people are quite supportive of that. But we don't really have any real champion to pick up those opportunities, resource-wise. It really comes under marketing function. And we don't have a marketing representation here in New Zealand. It's handled by Australia, Trans-Tasman. But there's opportunities, no doubt, absolutely. Probably more than what we can even think of here in this last 35 minutes.
And if it has to be, Gus, that we start looking into this in Australia and then rolling it out to US and rolling it out to other, but it will have to be eventually a global document because it's not that we're going to run Australia one way, New Zealand another, and so obviously, and we look at that, and then we look at the support mechanism from yourself to let us know how we could set this up to work effectively within our business, because someone would have to be responsible for continuously updating and advising you of the products that are available that are not, or replaced, or
do they change often?
Well, I don't know. Tony can say that.
Not really. I mean, we tweak things from time to time. More importantly, though, Gus, we add and we enhance. But yeah, that's where I'm thinking more. Maybe the systems might be more appropriate than the widget. Widgets come and go. Most of them stick around for a while, but after a while they start dropping off the edge because there's a new method of doing things, a faster system. But yeah, I mean, this creates more questions than answers, Gus. So it's no reflection on what you're trying to get across. It's more of ignorance on our half. How can we best utilise this in other areas that we haven't thought about?
Well, definitely think from their point of view, from that side. How do we make their life easier? And that's really what I think why this is born, why it's become so popular, compared to man, what am I going to do? And I've got this thing that I'm not even familiar with at all. I don't know what questions to ask because and also too. You might be familiar, some will be familiar with you in the processes. They've been around for a while, but the new blood on board, they look at how they're currently doing. They go, we're in what year are we in, and how are we doing it right now? So they will be more open to what you're suggesting there, Tony. The new blood, the new breed, and that's no one else is doing it. And as I said, in Australia, you're right, we are sort of behind the times compared to what's happening overseas, in particular the UK with BIM. And it's all about BIM. It's all about the information. It's all about keeping it all together in one spot, in one place. That's the whole jigsaw of it. And even what I'm showing you on this screen here, when I was just I like to sort of finish on this. It's the when I hit that save button, you get access to analytics. So you can see, I've just quickly gone to a products analytics dashboard here. It's all test data, so it's nothing sensitive here. But from here, I can see how many times I was viewed, which is that brand awareness, if you like. I wasn't nominated, but when I was doing my search for brackets, there were all those products there, and you were viewed, and you think, oh, okay, I was looking for that. I didn't know. Oh, yeah, you guys. Oh, didn't know you did that. It's sort of that kind of thing, I knew you for one thing, but I didn't know for that. And of course, the number that we all wonder how many times we added to specifications. As I click in there, it shows you a bit of a 3-month period here. The yellow represents current 3 months, dotted line represents the previous 3 months. So you got a bit of how things are tracking. Scroll down to the actual products or systems or whatever it is that we've got on board here. That's the products here. That's the practice. This is just UK test data. Gives you the project name, location, and the date. They can opt out to do a anonymous if they prefer, but by default everything's open. And as long as you don't hound them and stalk them, I guess they will keep it open. So we just be mindful of being respectful for them. You see all that, you can export it all to Excel here. And that's one analytics. There's another one now. I won't sort of go into it, but it does sort of the similar things. It's more for the larger type projects or infrastructure type projects. We get a little bit more drilled into the detail of the project itself, the information. But the beauty here is you get to see who specified you, what products, and you can start to do some really cool things. Okay, do we need to do more? We didn't get specified at all on this. Do we need to do more in sort of the drip feed that you mentioned for your MailChimp stuff, or how do we bring that profile up? And people don't know what it does, so they're not going to specify it. So what can we do to improve that? It's really good because it's real info. It's real time. It's what's happening, and so that's. I like to just finish on there because that the specification tool and the analytics really sits. There's nothing really like this anywhere that provides it. Being able to include your 3D type. When I went on to here, some of the things, whether it's this or other things, definitely have a chat internally. If there's something, even for this Exchange file, it seems I can bring it into Revit. So something like that. It'd be interesting to see how that could work. And Joe, they're from that side of the fence, so they'll look at it and review it from that side of it, and knowing their peers and making their life easier. As I mentioned, probably at half a dozen or so of our 250 odd would be utilising this, but it'll only just grow. It's just so much convenient rather than what I even showed you before.
So Gus, I just want to ask, so you've got the document, obviously you launch a document with architects, engineers. Is your involvement stop there? So whoever looks at MiTek products, they want MiTek products, they contact MiTek directly? Is that how it works? Yep.
Yeah, correct.
And, yep. Okay. And the orders and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. For example, when I was in here, for example, this Rondo in here, that's Rondo. I would not give them a 1300 number, for example. I'm a busy architect specifier. Give me a line of someone who can help me with query right now. But there you are. And if I want to know who's Rondo, and I click on Rondo, and MiTek, of course, and I'll have your overview here, all the products there, case studies, which are pretty good to have. About us, literature would be your downloads, this is sort of the traditional sort of thing, download document information, those things, and all the products that they've got listed currently on the platform, I can see here. So that's just to get to know you if they weren't too sure about you, and of course, the important thing there. Again, you would know Gus Miletto architects or engineers have specified you. You would. We don't give you the detail. We don't give you the contact information or anything like that. But it's sort of up to you. Sort of if you've got that relationship already, or just to be a bit mindful and saying, hey, I've just noted you've been specified for ABC project. Is there anything that we can assist with? It's sort of more of a courteous call, which I think would be good, because it's a bit of a daunting thing sometimes to specify things, especially if it's on you if the thing falls over. Maybe don't put it that way, but that's kind of in this session. I suppose just wanted to just show you the both sides of it anyway, and side of it as well.
This is really good. It's insightful. Sorry, Tony. Tony was called in last. I didn't know. I just told you, Tim. Because
that's all right. No problems.
So I had a bit of research and dig into this, and then informed Tim what's it all about. And then, so I know you just come in and it's just like, but from my perspective, I think it's a great idea. We just got to look at it internally a little bit more, how we could make it work effectively, and obviously to benefit both if we're partnering up with you guys.
Yep. Okay, cool. Unless there's anything else, of course, I'll shoot you an email with a bit of an overview, and I'll shoot a link to this recording.
Please.
Once that all gets finished up. But yeah, definitely have a powwow, and but I reckon the next step would be let's have a look at it in the 3D realm and how that works. Okay. Sort of things you're talking about in there. But otherwise, as you could see, as a product within the system, I think it's still quite powerful, and you'll own that space. There's no one else there that does anything similar. As you can see, these are not really comparable products that you're looking at right here. But you might have similar sort of things, but I think this is more for internal sort of drywall type mounting type applications. It looks like anyway. All right,
that's good.
I see Tim had to bow out there, but he'll have the recording anyway. But pleasure meeting you all. And
thanks, Gus. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Gus.
Good. All right.
Thank you so much. Great presentation.
Okay.
Thanks. See ya.
Vicky.
See you, Tony.
See ya.